Hi and welcome to Healthy Life Hacks. I'm Jefferies, the present day wise woman, a realistic naturopath coming to you from the surfing beaches of Australia. This podcast is for those of you who are wanting to really rock your life and health and live from a place of prevention. Let's get into today's episode. Last night we dropped to 10 degrees, which is freezing for us where I live. I live at the Gold Coast in Australia, the East Coast. Subtropical weather, generally humid. We get a few months of the year where it's dry air, and that's what happened. We dipped below that 20 degrees at night. 10 degrees for us is freezing. I froze surfing, and it really plays havoc with people's skin. That's seasonal change, and that's what I want to talk about today. Most people generally live either somewhere where it's humid, where it's cold dry, or hot dry, and none of them are right. Although humidity, you actually age slower. The best places to live for your skin is in humidity. That absolutely impacts, and I'll talk about that later. But if you are in dry cold, like it's winter coming into a winter in Australia now, if you're in dry cold and you've got heat on, you then go to dry heat inside, dry cold outside. So I want to talk about those kind of things because they all influence our skin. And in that seasonal change, it takes a few weeks for our skin to settle into the way the weather is. And for us here in Queensland, the humidity is dropping out of our air really fast. And it totally shows a difference in us. So let me jump into it. First up, if you are in a dry, cold place, this is where you want to keep your bathing and showering to a minimum. And I'll talk about why in a moment. Getting dry lips, even I'm getting dry lips. I've got some a beeswax based moisturizer on my lips today because it's dry air for us. If you're in dry heat, or air conditioning runs the same way, that dry cold, if you're in air conditioning and though, heating or air conditioning, it shows the same kind of way. And what happens is that blood gets drawn to our face to help our body try to cool it because you're generally rugged up as well. The problem is when we do that, it puts pressure on the capillaries in our face. And that's where you can start getting, little red capillaries showing. If you're going to be in air conditioning, which is that cool, dry, you want to make sure that you keep your water up, and this is when you can be spritzing. But I'm going to explain it all as we go. So we know that water evaporates from our skin to help our body move heat. That's the easiest way to put it. And when we're in a drier environment, it's way more dehydrating on our body. Now, lots of things can affect it, whether it's, chemicals, diseases. But what I'm talking about today is that seasonal change that really reacts to our skin. So let's think about first, if you are in that dry, cold situation, which is more in the central parts of Australia, not here on the coast. Here on the coast, we generally have humidity, but where our humidity normally is in the 90% all day, every day for 9 months of the year, 3 months of the year, it'll drop down to 50, 60%, which for us is a big difference. But you might live somewhere where you get frost or you might get snow. And so moisture in the air, actually on your skin, and that is really minimal. When our body temperature drops that much, you find that you're not sweating as much. And so that moisture and the oil, the sebum, the natural oil in your skin is not being produced as much. And all that creates more dryness in the skin. Back when in the podcast where I talked about if you want great skin, parts 1 and part 2, I talked all about the acid mantle. And the acid mantle is literally our skin is this acidic layer that helps to protect us. And it's like in the little bricks of a house, the sebum, the oil in between the skin is what helps to protect us. It keeps the acid mantle intact. But if you're in a really dry environment, that gets diminished, which means that it exposes you more to things like bacteria, and we get that dryness in our skin, and our skin starts trying to shed cells more frequently than normal. So if you are in those kind of environments, you want to keep your bathing and showering to a minimum, especially don't be, it's like a freezing cold day. I'll go out for a surf and come home from a surf, and all I want to do is just jump in a screaming hot bath or stand under a screaming hot shower. But what happens when you do that in winter, in the colder weather or the drier weather, you wash those oils out from the sebum, out from between like the bricks, the cells of your skin, and then you're scratching your skin for the hours later because you've they're dry. They're so excessively dry. So we want to make sure that you're minimizing your bathing and showering if you're in that really cold, dry condition, because we want to make sure we're stripping as little of that oil as possible, because less is naturally being produced. Now, you can be oiling your body every day, and I'm a big fan of oiling my body every day. I make up this awesome kind of body oil, and my favorites are things like avocado, for winter anyway, avocado and macadamia oil. You can buy cold pressed from the supermarket nowadays. Almond oil, apricot kernel, they're all great vegetable oils. But I really love avocado, is really rich in vitamin A and vitamin D. Macadamia, really, again, really rich but light oil, easy to apply all over your body. And I also love jojoba. Jojoba for the face is awesome. It doesn't clog the pores, and I'll talk more about jojoba shortly. But jojoba is awesome because it's the same consistency as the sebum, the oil in our skin. So if I was wanting to make a simple body oil, and make sure you go to the show notes, you can check this recipe, but something just for protecting, to dry, arms, legs, those kind of things, your body bits to apply after you've had your shower or bath, I'd be using a combination of avocado and macadamia oil. Definitely put in a bit of jojoba oil, and then essential oils like sandalwood, or even really simple lavender, Lavandula angustifolia, the French lavender, wonderful. Or the Tasmanian lavender is also great for skin. Really simple, but easy to apply, slightly damp hands, a few drops. Just remember that a few drops goes a long way, and just moisturize. I'm such a big fan. I oil myself top to toe every day, and I have for 30 years. I love it because I know how good it is for my skin, and I live in humidity, but which I obviously use a lot less in summer than I do in winter, but I love that oiling your skin is just so good. So if you're in cool, dry, that's where you want to start. Lips, lips don't have we don't have any oil glands, no sebaceous glands on them. And so extra protection is needed. I'm a big fan of beeswax. You can also use pure lanolin, but lanolin is a sheep product, so I prefer to use the beeswax, and easy to be able to find beeswax-based lip glosses or lip moisturizers, nice and easy. And you do a tiniest bit goes a really long way. So check them out. Also, when it's drier, we tend to go to more warm drinks than just room temperature water or cool water. So drinking hot water with lemon or herbal teas are a good way to increase our water intake over people just doing their natural default to things like caffeine drinks, like coffee and that, because coffee causes dehydration. Herb tea counts as water. Lemon and water counts as water. Water counts as water. And some days I'll just have a cup of warm water to drink. I don't even need to have anything in it, and I'll just hold it and drink it to warm me up. So you can still, even if it's cold weather, you can still make sure you're getting enough hydration through the day. Remember, you need a minimum of about 33 ml per kilo per day to stay on top of your hydration. If the weather is just way too cold to have your shower or have your bath and then jump out and stand in the cold to put your oils on, maybe think about that they're part of your showering routine or your bathing routine, that you put the oils into the bath. If you're going to put them in the bath, use a water-soluble vegetable oil base oil, so that the bath doesn't go getting all slippery. Otherwise, the oil just floats on the surface. But what I find is I can apply oils pretty damn quick on a cold morning. I'm, traveling around the world in cold countries, I'll still make sure I oiled my body every day. I promise it's worth it. When you're in that cool, dry, you also want to make sure that you're having plenty of omega-3 essential fatty acids. Now, they either come from fish oils like cold water fish, krill, salmon. I am not a fan of farmed salmon. Can you hear the crows? The birds are going crazy outside my house at the moment. Anyway, everything's perfect. I'll keep talking. But they've been very chatty today, which is just interesting. Yeah, so omega-3s, I'm a big fan of flaxseed oil for the skin, and it really helps to moisturize the skin from the inside out. So whether it's loose flaxseed oil and you want to have about a dessert spoonful a day, or if you're going to have capsules, you want to be having 3 twice a day to get a really good dose, especially in that seasonal change. So remember that 80% of good skin is internal, is nutrition. So no matter what you do, up the water and up the omega-3 essential fatty acids as well. Really important. Now, if you're in that really dry heat and it's seasonal change, so maybe you're coming out of cool, out of your winter, depending where you are in the world, and you're going more to dry kind of heat, water, that's pretty much it. In dry heat, the sweat glands are working even harder to be able to help your body cool. And so you just want to be making sure that that's replaced no matter what. Spritzing is really good in this. And even just literally cool water, a couple of drops of lavender and a peppermint, put it in the fridge and just spritz yourself regularly, but you still have to replace that water internally. If you perspire, you've got to put it in. And sometimes when you're in that really dry heat, your perspiration evaporates so quickly you don't even notice that you're perspiring, but you are. So water, 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 water. I touched on the fact that if you're in air conditioning or in heating, sometimes that you'll find that, you're rugged up, you've got clothes on and you're red, you start getting red cheeks, rosy cheeks. And if you do that day after day, especially in heated, like winter kind of times, and then you go out into the other extreme, you can end up busting little capillaries on your cheeks, and that's not really good. So try to make sure you're at least sleeping without the heating on and having the thermostat down as low as you can that's still comfortable, and put an extra jumper on, because it's a lot less chance of damaging the fine capillaries on our noses and our cheeks. Jojoba oil, I touched on. Jojoba oil is just the best for protecting us from dryness. And the essential oils, any of the wood and resin oils, so your sandalwoods and your frankincense, they're excellent essential oils that you can dilute into a massage oil. And jojoba, I love it. Jojoba is literally kind of like a liquid wax. So it keeps just such a fine, lovely moisturizing residue on the skin. It's really cool. If you're in that really dry heat, you might want to bring a humidifier into the room, so, or even the cold dry as well. So a humidifier, we grew up with them as kids. You don't see them much anymore. But, they were, and if you've got a heater on in your house, that you can put a saucepan of water on the top of the heater to allow that to put some of the moisture back in the air. That's a nice way to be able to do it. Otherwise, if you can get an electric kind of humidifier where, they'll usually hold a couple of liters of water, you put a few drops of essential oil on the top and it blows, it mists it doesn't heat it, but it puts that water out into the room, that moisture into the room. That is really important too. But if you do use like a heater, not an electric heater, obviously don't go putting water on the top of your electric heater, but make gas or wood fire heaters, those kind of things. Really think about being able to bring moisture into the room as well. And if you're in air conditioning, kind of reverse cycle air conditioning, where you're heating using air conditioning, it really sucks the moisture out of the air and out of your skin. So jojoba, put it with something like some avocado and some macadamia are a great place to go. Go to the show notes. I'll put a simple recipe in there that's really easy for you to make. And ultimately, go and live somewhere where it's humid, because and I lived in North Queensland, which is just tropical 9-10 months of the year. It's 90% humidity, like 9 or 10 months of the year, and it's just bliss. And our body ages slower, our skin stays more soft and stays more hydrated. But you mightn't want to live in the tropics, which means you just need to take a bit more care with your skin than if you did live somewhere with more humidity. If you are in a really humid place, you want really fine light oils. I use face oils and body oils all the time, while living in the tropics. Jojoba, and then I'd go to something like an apricot kernel or an sweet almond oil as the base oils, because they're nice and light. Jojoba, because it is a liquid wax, can hold the heat in a bit. So if you really do feel the heat, you might want to just stick to something like an apricot kernel or a sweet almond oil as the base oil to still be able to moisturize your skin. Something else that we use in the aromatherapy world is glycerin. Now, not talking about the nasty glycerin taken from horses' hoofs, talking about glycerin, vegetable glycerin. Glycerin is also known as glycerides, and they're the fatty acid esters of glycerol. So they're components of glycerol, and it's a colorless, sweet, kind of viscous liquid that can be found in soap making. A lot of soap making nowadays, they'll use plant glycerin, which is really good. Not a fan of animal glycerin at all. And I make my own soaps, and I'll use a vegetable glycerin base that I melt down on a double boiler and put my essential oils in, and I use vegetable glycerin. By the way, as a side note, if you're using a soap and a hard cake of soap and you get, the yucky white buildup in your shower, that's generally because it's the crappy fats that are in the soap. Where I use a vegetable glycerin soap, and I have a clean shower all the time. So that's just a sideline. Vegetable glycerin is really cool. Glycerin also acts as a humectant, which means it draws moisture. So it's good in that it will draw moisture from the air, but it will also draw moisture from the deeper layers of the skin. So it's not something you use in a moisturizer for long-term use, but it works really well in hydration masks. I'll put a recipe in the show notes about a simple vegetable glycerin mask you can make, but you're just not doing that kind of thing all the time. Using it in a soap daily, that's fine. But if you're really putting it in like moisturizers and stuff, long term, they can draw moisture from the skin. So don't do that, but have it as a simple mask is a great way to do it. One last comment on jojoba oil too, before I close out, is I'm such a big fan of jojoba oil. I really do. It is such a beautiful, non-scented, non-sensitizing, neutral carrier for essential oils as an alternative to moisturizers. And I've used it as a base for my face and body moisturizers for so long, like 30 years. It's excellent because it also supports collagen and elastin, and it holds moisture in what's called a non-comedonic, which means basically it doesn't go clogging your pores and creating blackheads. It's a seriously cool oil that you might want to play with. So what I've given you today is some ideas on that. Yes, we still need to look at water, good fats to look after our skin through these changes. It's not just a case of using oils externally. You've got to do it from inside as well for these seasonal changes. Coming from a place of prevention is actually really important. And that's why it's also the first healthy life hack. And that is, if you know that you usually experience changes, seasonal changes, the colder weather's coming, the news, the weather tells you there's a cold front coming, come from a place of prevention, up your water, up your omega-3s. I always have flaxseed oil in my fridge. I just do, because I know it's so good for me. And start looking after your skin differently as you come to that seasonal change. For me, when I start coming to the spring, summer, the humidity starts to rise. Obviously, I back things off and I start to use lighter oils. Seasonal changes are a reality. Maybe you live somewhere where the seasonal change is really quick. Here, we're in and out of it for about a month. Our autumn, I know it's technically 3 months, but sometimes we'll just slam straight into winter. But this year we're in and out daily. So the skin's reflecting that. That's why I want to do it. So remember, healthy life hack number 1 is to come from a place of prevention. And healthy life hack number 2 is, where is your skin at right now? Do you need to up your water? Do you need to have some omega-3s internally, be they fish oil or flaxseed oil? And what can you use to treat your skin as it gets through this seasonal change? Head over to the show notes. I'll have those couple of recipes for you. Go to healthylifehacks.com.au. And in the next episode, tune in, because I'll be talking about the 8 most powerful words. And then I want to thank you for being here today. If you enjoyed my podcast, please let me know by leaving a review on Apple Podcast. Every month, I draw one lucky person who leaves a review on Apple Podcasts to have a free 1-hour consultation with me. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you're tuning in from, so that you always catch the next episode. And if you would like to receive a free copy of my Feed Your Body ebook, simply click the link in the comments below. Join my newsletter and we will get that free ebook sent to you. I welcome your emails, and you can write to me at podcast@healthylifehacks.com.au. Until next time, remember, when it comes to life, live it, love it, and get on with it.